Hello, everybody. Brendan Wall here with another edition of Film Talk on GameItAll.com. Just before we get going, I'm just going to read a brief little sponsor bit here. Our sponsor today is HostGator. HostGator is a leading provider of shared, resold VPS and dedicated hosting solutions. Their award-winning support is available 24/7 via phone, email, and live chat. You discover why over 9 million websites trust HostGator and sign up for a new hosting package. Use the coupon code GameItAll and receive 25% off your first hosting plan. So that being said, I want to welcome my guest today, Zack Ward, here to talk about his new film, Restoration.
Yep.
And before we get into it too much, where would that be available for
Uh,
people to purchase?
Restoration is coming out May 3rd on VOD and digital formats, as well as DVD. So I think it'll
Okay,
be at a store near you, as well as online.
May 3rd.
May 3rd.
Awesome. All right, yeah, no, and right off the bat, thank you very much for appreciate you making kind of time out of your busy schedule.
That's
And yeah, so before I get started, I want to mention when I was looking up information, doing a little bit of research, I noticed you have a lot of credits on IMDb, a lot more than usual. Because usually, I talk to a lot of well, independent film producers, directors, actors, and such.
right.
I think you have the most out of anyone I've ever talked to so far. Going back to 1983
Yeah.
as your first role. I think it's your first role
My first,
in
yeah, my first feature film was A Christmas Story.
right, and you got beat up.
That's it. I took a dive for cash.
Do you remember anything about that? Like, I know that was a long time
I
ago.
remember everything about the film, not only because I remember it, but also because I've spoken about it so many times, and it was such a fantastic experience. It was cold. We were shooting in Toronto. I was shooting in Toronto, St. Catharines, Ontario, and Cleveland, Ohio. And it was cold and a lot of snow and a great time, and everybody was really cool. And Bob Clark was a lovely, lovely fella, a great guy, very much a father figure. And it was an amazing experience. And those guys I still know today, and we're still good friends. We travel around the country signing autographs and raising money for charity every year. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's amazing. I know it's great for other people. They love the movie. They see it every year. It becomes a family tradition. For us who were actually in it, it's this incredible event that happened when you were a child, and then it just exploded throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah,
And
I was gonna say you must get asked about that a lot, pretty much every.
like literally, I'm at a tiki bar last night, and somebody's like, "You're the guy from A Christmas Story." I'm like, yes. And shit, and then want a photo, and it's great. It's very sweet.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's good too because a lot of you think it would get kind of taxing for some people hearing about that like all the time, but it's good that you can.
It can. I mean, to me, as I shuffle the computer around, sorry, it does. Like, there's moments around Christmas where I'm just like over it.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people full time, 24/7. Most of the time, I'm very grateful and very happy about it. James and I met up in 2013, and he was not a Christmas Story fan because he's Jewish, but
okay.
but he was a huge Resident Evil Apocalypse fan, and so then he went off to go do a movie called Pernicious in Thailand. He had actually written a character around my character in Resident Evil Apocalypse, Nikolai Janofov. Then when he got back from Thailand, we started hanging out and working on projects, and then we did this movie called Blood Lake: Attack of the Killer Lamprey together, and yeah, that was fun. Um, so that was the beginning, and then what else? We did some music videos, and then we started writing, and then we got these two projects that we put together, and now we're still producing and writing together.
That's awesome. And you done a lot of you done a few horror films outside of that too, because I noticed you done for like Freddy versus Jason,
Yeah,
a couple other things like that. So you had some experience in the horror genre before you kind of teamed up.
yeah, a little bit. If you read my credits, I've probably done like 10 horror films and TV shows and so forth. So yeah, I have a lot of experience with horror.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um.
And his film, what was the one that got banned? What's it called?
Oh, Hate Crime.
That's the one that got banned.
Well, apparently it had been banned by the British Film Board, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't. I know the basic storyline of the film, but I didn't go. It didn't go a whole lot into it. It just said that it was I guess, for the violence. I guess of the
I don't
film.
want to give away any spoilers. There's some things in there that are pretty horrific. they're they're just things that make you go, oh, come on, oh. But that's what James likes to do, is push the levels of what's accepted in order to garner a response. I mean, that's the thing about horror films is you're safe sitting on your couch watching a movie, and people's heads are getting ripped off, and someone's shoving pudding down their open throat. Of course, I'm talking about Dead Alive. And so it's the idea of what can you do to shock someone into a visceral experience. Because that's the thing is, if you cut back to a movie that's in the 50s or the 30s, just having a woman say no to a man, the whole audience would be like, oh my God. So obviously our culture changes so much that you're constantly trying to find that level in order to A, make a new statement, but also B, give the audience the experience that they want. They want a roller coaster. You go to see a horror movie so that you jump and you pull and you and you walk out going, oh my God, I was so scared, right?
Yeah.
But you and I both know that if you're sitting there watching a horror movie, nothing's going to bite you or stab you or hurt you. It's all in your head. So you're constantly looking how to reach into somebody's head and push that button.
Yeah, and it does it. And I don't know what the film board was expecting when they read the plot. Like, a happy-go-lucky tale of mischief.
Honestly, I don't know why. The whole idea of banning a movie is ridiculous. Yeah. In the sense that, I mean, this is not Sharia law. This is not a Muslim state. And all that happens is in a first world where you ban a film is people want to see it more. You're basically just giving them advertising. When James heard that, he was like, sweet, I'm banned. I finally made it.
Well, I mean, and that's almost a blessing in disguise. You're giving more publicity to the film.
I don't think there's any almost there. I think it's 100% positive for James.
Yeah.
It's great. To have it on his resume, one of his movies that he wrote and produced and directed, I think he was like 19 or 20, is banned in the country. That makes you sound like a badass.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'd put that before my name on every poster. Banned in the UK.
James Bressick, banned in the UK. That sounds awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, especially for a horror director, right?
So if you have any other James Bressick film questions that you want to ask, I'm happy to ask for him since he's not here.
Well, I was going to ask you about Bethany too, because you said you'd both worked on that.
Yep.
And you got to, and I understand you also got some pretty big names in that. Tom Green and Shannon Doherty worked on that with you guys.
Yeah, that was great. That was James's trigger that he pulled. James is friends with Shannon when we shot Blood Lake, Attack of the Killer Lampreys. Shannon was on that, and James and Shannon became really good friends. And they've worked together on a number of different projects. And when we were writing the script, it was written for Shannon to play that character. And we really wanted to give her something that was outside of her expected wheelhouse, character-wise. And something that had some real teeth. Some real meat for her teeth to bite into, some real character work. And then Tom Green was this happy accident because James is just, fearless all the time. So he's over in Burbank having a cigarette, and there's Tom Green standing outside having a cigarette. He's like, "Hey, you're Tom Green. I'm James Bressick." We start talking. Why don't you be in my movie? Okay. Literally, he does that all the time. It's awesome. So yeah, it's cool because Tom's performance is not comedic.
Oh no, okay.
So it's a straight character in the film. So he's not making wacky jokes.
So just before I get into the main thing I want to talk to you about, restoration, the other thing I noticed, I had never even thought of this, that you also did. Because people actually asked me about it when I mentioned I was talking to you today.
Yes.
They mentioned the show Titus.
Yeah.
because you played Titus's brother on the show,
I played.
and Dave, yeah. Um, you get recognized for that one too,
All the
quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was the experience working on that show? Because you were on there for 3 seasons, I think. The whole run of the show.
The show only ran for 3 seasons. There was an ensemble cast of Christopher Titus, Stacy Keach, Cynthia Watros, myself, and David Shatraw. So we were all on it for 3 seasons. We did a total of 54 episodes, just shy of going into syndication. It was a great experience. The writers were amazing. Jack Kenny and Brian Hargrove were the head writers. Jack Kenny has gone on to do Warehouse 13 on Sci-Fi. Just an amazing writer. Titus was amazing. It was an incredible experience. It was so ahead of its time, and it really garnered an audience that it's weird. The audience that fell in love with Titus, still to this day, I wouldn't say rabid fans, but they feel like it was theirs. They feel like it was talking to them. Another connection through the performance that's really treasured. So when I meet those people, I'm sure that's what your experience has been. Somebody said, "Oh, from Titus," and then got all excited, and then started telling you about episodes and what we used to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's because the writing was so damn good. So yeah, Titus was a lot of fun to do. It was one of those magic fucking moments in your life. Getting paid a great deal of money to do something that you loved, that people really, really enjoyed. That doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. It was it was the sort of university of comedy, and I just fell in love with it. Yeah, great experience.
I'm curious about this because you said it was a show ahead of its time, and I agree with you because I remember watching a little bit of it when it was on. Do you feel like this show, if it started now or like a couple of years ago, would last longer on the air?
Oh yeah. No, the thing is, the show had great numbers. The show was doing fantastically. The reason it got canceled is because Christopher Titus pissed off the head of the network and called her names on the radio, embarrassed her, and got in pointless arguments with her, Gail Berman, and literally started a fight he couldn't win over something that wasn't worth fighting for, and got us all canceled. And he even said that in his own stand-up. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. It literally was somebody had a hissy fit, turned into a big, giant, pouty baby, and ruined it for everyone. And the thing is, you got to understand with a network, like, do you know the TV show Frasier?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of our creators, one of our showrunners, Brian Hargrove, his husband, so he's a gay man, is David Hyde Pierce, right? So David Hyde Pierce played Niles on Frasier. And when Frasier was ending, I think David Hyde Pierce was making like $1 to $2 million an episode. But in the first 7 years of Frasier, Kelsey Grammer was getting paid X. Whatever X is, it's a small amount, okay? And he never asked for a raise until the show has done so many episodes that it's sold into syndication. And that's where the network is going to make real big money. So what you do when you're in a situation like that is A, be grateful that you have a show. That's a huge gift. It's a lot of work, but it's a huge gift. And then you kind of shut your mouth and do what you're told until you're sold into syndication. And then you're an equal at the table. Mm-hmm. Because you have power over in the process of the show. Because the network stands to make so much money. But until that moment, you have no power at all. So shut your mouth, do what you're told, show up on time, wear a smile, do your best, beep off, and go home. And I tried to explain that to Chris, and he didn't understand it, and he stuck both his feet in his own mouth and basically lost himself somewhere around $50 million.
Wow.
He lost me probably around 12. Yeah. So
That's an expensive foot.
That's it. Those are some big feet, dude. So kids out there, I know this is PG-13, but bleep happens. So keep your nose to the grindstone. Keep a smile on your face. Be grateful. Work hard and earn it. And don't be a dick. So that's what happened to Titus. Now, I think Titus could, if it came out today, would even be more risky. Because
Okay.
because I don't think, like, looking at the show, I think it was brilliantly done, but I think that it would have to play a little bit of catch up because you can't land it in that same sitcom format that was comfortable 16 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think they'd have to change it up a little bit, but they'd be able to do it fantastically. Sadly, there will never be a Titus reunion. There will never be a launch on Netflix. There will never be anything. And they stopped making the DVDs. I mean, it's nobody who's part of the process of making the show, who owns intellectual property on Titus, wants to work with Chris.
Okay.
So they are unwilling to do it because they're not willing to put money in his pocket after he took so much out of theirs. He basically set the world on fire around him.
And okay, so then in restoration, this is your. And I think I read this is your directorial debut for a feature, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did the idea for the film come about?
Um, if James and I were sitting talking about concepts. We wanted to make a film that would appeal to a wide audience, but still have the level of integrity and character value so that people didn't think it was, so people were enrolled in it. People got caught up in the story. And that's the thing about writing is you can have a $150 million movie. You can have a $10,000 movie. Writing is writing. You know, it doesn't cost you any more money to write a good script than it does to write a bad script. It just costs you time. And if you're doing it yourself, then you might as well do it as well as you can. So we first came up with the overall world that we wanted it to live in. And, you know, we did these movies together, overlapping sets and cast and crew, and really using a very modern technique to make independent feature film as affordable as possible so that we're able to put all the money on the screen to get the most bang for the buck when we don't have a lot of buck to make a lot of bang.
Right. Is that an airplane or something going by?
It is. I'm sitting on my back deck, and there was a cat earlier. Just be grateful there's no helicopters because they are loud as hell.
I was just wondering about that. I was like, that just sounds like a plane, but I'm not sure. Okay, so and then the like you're in the film yourself, and then you had the casting process. How long did that? What was that process?
That was actually very simple. James has got a ton of great connections, and with the lead, Emily O'Brien, James had worked with her before on his film Pernicious, and she is just gangbusters. Emily O'Brien is gorgeous, but also super classy and elegant, and just an amazing actress, and just a pleasure to work with, and a really nice person. So that was Emily O'Brien. That's James brought her in, and then I found this fella named Adrian Gaeta, wonderful actor, very real, just very organic. And that's the thing is that, you know, we all like horror films, but you get tired of acting that is stiff and, hey, what is that blood that goes to the woods? I don't know, but perhaps I should show my boobs. Okay. Like that just, it gets annoying. So I wanted the world to be something that seems like an extension of our own world, seems realistic until things get weird, so that it would seem more invasive. The casting was relatively simple for that. Like I said, James pulled a lot of magic out of his hat, and then it was just straight up casting and making phone calls and finding the right people and putting it together. You know, for me as a writer, the thing about writing that I love so much, like I said before, it doesn't matter about budget, it matters about actor bait. you and I are both normal human beings, and typically we don't say the cool thing at the right time, and we go home and go, "Dag nabbit, I wish I had said this." But in writing a script, you actually get to write the cool responses that you wish you had the smarts and savvy to say. And when you're writing a female character, I kind of do away with the gender politics and focus solely on what it is she wants. Whether she wants love or attention, or she wants to be taken seriously, or something's of importance to her, or what her drive is. And especially with the character of Rebecca Jordan, you know, there's a backstory that I've created for each one of these characters. So I've written out this backstory. So there's 10 to 15 pages per character that I've written out that no one else reads, just for me. So when I start writing them, they have their own voice. And they know what they want. So then they're telling me, and I'm writing it down for them. I know that sounds a little schizophrenic, but it really becomes like that. It becomes like role-playing games. You know, did you ever play Dungeons & Dragons?
Similar things to that, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I played when I was a kid. And so I build those characters up so I can hear their voice. And it's really important, you know, to me as a Canadian and as someone who was raised by a single mother, that I look at female characters as characters first, and then female later, because I believe that they have as much power as they can be imbued with that feeds the dynamic of the scene.
Would you say that between this and Bethany, would you say this is a similar? They're both in the horror genre. Would you say they're similar in the horror genre, or a bit of a departure from one to the other? Or
oh yeah, they're very different. Restoration has got more of a modern suspense feel, and Bethany is a classic 70s style thriller horror. I mean, that's what James and I were going for in the writing. That's what he went for as director. So yeah, we tried to make them as different as possible. So hopefully when Bethany comes out, you can watch them side by each.
Do you have any, so besides Bethany and do you have anything else you're working on right now that you can talk about at all?
Let's see. Well, there's a bunch of projects that are in bubbling away, about to pop up, which is pointless to talk about because until they happen, then they're just BS. There's a movie that James and I wrote, but I don't think we're allowed to talk about that. It's supposed to go into production in May. What else? I don't think I'm allowed to talk about the other stuff, which is weird. I've got a bunch of things that I'm working on that legally I can't talk about. So, no, I do nothing else but sit here and do Skype interviews all day long.
So Restoration May 3rd, Bethany sometime in the near future. It's currently in post-production, you said.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's it. I want to thank you very much for joining me. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
My pleasure.